Good morning to everyone. Um, oh yeah, so good morning to everyone. Mm, So we will um, begin today's teaching, and as usual, please keep the Mahayana motivation, which is to um, aspire for the enlightenment, aspire for enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, and so. With proper motivation, please listen to the further teachings. And today's teaching is the what we call the it is from the instructions of mm, instructions on the path of enlightenment by Master Gampopa. And so this is what we will go. So actually, we have some leftover from the last session's teaching, which I think something called the The 10 self-accomplished sufferings. I think that is what we went through last week, last session. So we have 5 remaining ones, but I think uh, it is okay just to read it over. Mm, I don't think it needs that much of an explanation. Okay, so today we will begin with in Tibetan what we call Yangtabe Chuchu, or the 10 perfect things, to be simply put. Um, so the word Yangtaba in Tibetan has has different connotations in English. It can be pure, it can be proper, it can be appropriate, it can be perfect, so or right. Mm. So in the translation here, it says 10 perfect things, and so let's go with that. So this is what um, we will cover today. So I will try to go a little bit quick over these things, and then um, hope for Q&A sessions. Maybe that is going to prove much more productive, I think. Um, oh yeah. Now, okay. So the 10 perfect things. The first thing is known as the uh, so you can usually it's similar to what we call the eight noble um, in the Noble Eightfold Path. We say we have the right view, right action, and right conduct, and so on and so forth. So similarly here also, you can say the 10 rightful things to do, or the 10 appropriate things to do. And the first of which is for a Dharma practitioner, especially for a Dharma practitioner, the first very important thing for one to do is to have proper faith in uh, the law of causality, meaning karma, that from positive karma or positive action results in positive reactions or consequences or results, and negative karma or negative action brings negative reactions or negative results, negative consequences. And so this is the first and foremost right view, or the perfect view. So here it says this is the right view or the perfect view according to the person of the lowest intellect. So here when we say lowest intellect, that means it is not, we are not trying to denigrate someone, not trying to denigrate, look down upon someone, but rather this is the least we must do. This is the least thing. This is the least necessity for a Dharma practitioner. So therefore, this is known as the perfect view or the right view according to the person of lowest intellect. Yes.
I think that today is the 10th self-accomplishment, great kindness to oneself.
Okay. It's not the 10 perfect things, right? 10 self-accomplishment. Yeah. I think we have 5 left, or we finished all of that yesterday, last week.
I think the
Begin
10 self-accomplishments are
10
great.
self-accomplishment. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So sorry about that.
I don't make a mistake. Today is must be the 10th self-accomplishment,
Self-accomplishment.
great kindness to oneself.
Yep.
Last time
Okay.
we finished
Okay.
the 10 self-suffering, Rinpoche. 10 self-accomplished sufferings. That was the last
Okay.
time. So
Oh, that
today,
is what we finished. Okay. Thank you. Thank
sorry,
you
I
for
was
reminding that.
for that as well.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Then, okay. Oh, right. Last week it was the 10
So,
10 wrongdoings, right?
and self-accomplished suffering.
Yeah, self-accomplished suffering, right? Suffering brought upon oneself, not
Yes.
self-accomplished suffering. Yeah, yeah, correct. Okay, so sorry about that. Let me get back to it. Okay, so today's teaching, let me get right to it. So today's teaching is the 10 self-accomplished great kindness to oneself, or mm, being useful to oneself, to put it simply, in simple plain English, being useful to oneself. That is the title of today's topic. So the first one is in Tibetan. That means by abandoning or by letting go of the 3 poisons, which is afflictions, attachment, hatred, and ignorance, or anger, lust, anger, craving, and ignorance. So whatever we call it, the 3 poisons. So by freeing oneself from the 3 poisons and going towards, or marching towards the Dharma, the practice of the Dharma. So that is the sign of being kind, or being grateful to oneself, uh, being meaningful to oneself. So how do one breaking it down, the thing is, how can I be grateful to myself? How can I be beneficial to myself? How can I be meaningful? How can I help myself? So if you want to help yourself, what you have to do is distance ourselves from the 3 poisons, distance ourselves from attachment, distance ourselves from anger and hatred and resentment, and distance ourselves from ignorance. So from not knowing to knowing, from being angry, from being hateful to being loving, from being attached with jealousy and so on and so forth, to being appreciative, being respectful, and so on and so forth. So that is what we are looking at. And that transformation from bad to good, from ignorance to knowledge, from hatefulness to loving kindness, from attachment to appreciation, that transformation is called Dharma. So Dharma, the Sanskrit word Dharma, has many connotations, and one of which is to hold. So here the Dharma means to hold, to grasp. When you excuse me, just like when you have a tunnel will hold the water, and when you have a tunnel or a pipe, let's say, when you have a pipe, the pipe will hold the water to wherever you want it to take it to. If you want to take it upwards or downwards, right way, left way, when you have a pipe, the pipe will hold the water or whatever the content it has, and it will take it to the right direction. So just like that, Dharma is what holds us during our journey from bad to good, from ignorance to light, and so on and so forth, from darkness to light, from ignorance to knowledge, and so on and so forth. But that is the first and foremost way of being kind to oneself, being beneficial to oneself, being meaningful to oneself, is to distance from the mundane life of the three poisons, and march towards the life of a Dharma practitioner, or of Dharma.
It's okay, Rinpoche.
Oh yeah, okay. Now, okay. Now the second one is to give up the worldly life and to take shelter in holy persons and into the Dharma, or take a spiritual life. Now, okay, maybe we will have questions about this in the we will talk about that in Q&A later. So I will talk more about this. So here we are talking about someone who is dedicated to the Dharma, or fully dedicated, full dedication to the Dharma, fully dedicated to the Dharma practice. If you want to dedicate yourself fully to the Dharma, then it is probably the best way. It is probably best to take a ordained life. Because when you are a family person, you have so many obligations. That is that as a family person, you have your duty towards your partner. You have your duty towards your children, your family members, and everyone. So that way, we're not saying what we are saying in the Dharma is that we're not denigrating. We're not saying we are not looking down upon householders. We are not looking down upon family members. Actually, I always feel that people who practice the Dharma and also live a household life, it is much more difficult, and also I really respect them. The teaching here is that it will be much more difficult for one to practice as a householder than as a ordained person. When you are a monk or a nun, you are just by yourself, and the whole Sangha is there to help you with one goal, which is the spiritual life. But when you are in the family life, then you have to divide, let's say, 40% of your life to maintain the family, 20% of your life to look after for your professional career, and then maybe 30 or 10% of your life towards the Dharma. So you have percentage wise, you have much less. You won't be able to put in 100% of your efforts into the Dharma practice. But as a layperson, so it will be much more difficult. But still, it doesn't mean that as a householder you cannot do Dharma practices. Because if you look at many of the great masters, like Master Master Gampopa's teacher's teacher, who is the Marpa Lotsawa, who is a householder and also a great practitioner. And then there are so many other great practitioners who can handle both. I mean, those who can handle both, those who can balance the life of a family man and that of a spiritual practitioner, that is such a great feat. If you can do that, of course, there is no advices against that. But for many of us, it is better to live a solitary life, so to speak, so that we can dedicate much more into the practice of the Dharma. Mm. So that's the second instruction. What? Number 3 is to give up distractions, being distracted to um, superficial, mundane things, and then dedicate oneself to the three, what we call the three trainings, or the not three trainings, the learning, or listening, or hearing, or learning, then meditating, contemplating, and then meditating. So first, so we call this Tö Samgomsum. Tö is to listen, to learn. Sam is to think or contemplate, and Gom is to apply and meditate. Application through meditation. Not all Dharma application is meditation, right? For example, like generosity, the practice of generosity is not meditative. To practice generosity, you can do generosity practice through meditation, but you will have to give something to someone. You can give smile to someone, you can give kind words to someone, and so forth. It has to follow through actions. But most of the time, most of the Dharma practices can be done through applied application. The Dharma practices can be applied through meditation. So here we're talking about listening. The first thing is listening or hearing or learning. First, one must learn. Second, one must analyze oneself or contemplate on it. And the third is meditate on that. Or apply, put into application what you have learned and contemplated. So these three things, we call it Tö Sam Gom. Learn, contemplate, and application. Learning, contemplation, and application. So these three things. Distance yourself from the mundane distractions, and throw yourself into the three practices, or the three Tösam Gomsumo, which is to learn, to contemplate, and to put into application the teachings of the Buddha. I think I repeated myself many, many times, but this is I will bring it again anyways, the example of going to a long journey and doing also restroom stops. So the mundane distractions are like the restroom stops. Eventually, you will have to stop here and there to fill in petrol, to fill in gas, and then maybe you need to take a restroom break. But if you remain there for too long, then you will miss out on the main journey, which is to reach your destination. So similarly, of course, in life, we have to enjoy. Sometimes, now and then you enjoy life, because if you dedicate too much into either Dharma practice or even non-Dharma practice, whatever, if you are seriously dedicated into something, then this can also stress you out. Even Dharma practice can stress you out. It doesn't mean Dharma practice is a bad thing. Anything you do without, you need to unwind, unwind or unwind. Even Lord Buddha, after he became Siddhartha Gautama, after he became the Buddha, he went out for 7 weeks, keep walking. Even after becoming enlightened, he has to sort of like unwind, so to speak. Of course, the the main reason is that there is to tell us that the importance of the teaching that he's going to teach, the Dharma that he's going to teach is so precious that unless people are ready to receive it, he will not teach it. And he was looking for the right uh, the right audience or the right students to receive his teachings, the first teachings. At the same time, he has been roaming around for 7 weeks. So yeah, my point is that one needs to enjoy, but at the same time, uh, if you think enjoyment is the most important thing in life, that is also a wrong thing. If you don't enjoy life, that is also a wrong thing to do. So one needs to keep in balance both of them. So here, this is the path that we are treating. When we say let go of the mundane things. So the mundane things are like the restroom stops. Yeah. So you need to do the restroom stops, but that is not where you will ultimately lie. Because if you stop there ultimately, then you will, this life, even though all the pains and the joys that we experience in this life, when we are going through the pains and joy, it seems so eternal. But actually, our life is very short. At the most, we will live up to 100 years old. And even if we live up to, even if uh, our age says that we are 100 years old, or you know, we are not necessarily living. We are not necessarily living for 100 years. Most of the time, we are in the past, we are in the future, we are thinking about something else. We are not in the moment. That means that 80 or 90 or 100 years that you supposedly have lived is not fully lived by you. So that means uh, we have a very, very short time in samsara, in this life. So therefore, one needs to take the most out of it. Mm. The enjoyment part is one of uh, it is it is like in a meal, it is like the appetizer. One would need the appetizer, but the uh, the main dish is what we are all waiting for. So that is what that is the practice of the Dharma. Dharma doesn't necessarily mean religious practice. Dharma here means spiritual practice. Spiritual practice means development of your inner strength. That is what Dharma is about. Development of your inner strength. We can call it development of your inner strength, development or perfectioning, yeah, perfecting your mind, perfecting your consciousness, mm, uh, uh, building your inner strength, whatever you may call it. That is the most important thing. That will leave you, because this life is not eternal. This life will go away, but our consciousness, the stream of the consciousness will live on even after we die. So therefore, we have to think long term. That is that is why uh, the teaching here, the ten grateful things, or 10 things that one should be 10 things one should be practicing in order to be kind to oneself, is directed towards spiritual progress, spiritual progression, and spiritual practices, and not about making more money or more fame and things like that. Mm. Now we will go to the next one. Mm. Now, number four is the English translation is a little bit short here. So there's some correction to be made. It says, give up intimacy with your family. Actually, in the Tibetan, it says Chongpa tab deshepang. Chongpa means neighbor, not family. So the English translation is incorrect in this the book that you have. So it says, give up intimacy with your neighborhood, with your neighbors, and then seek solitude. So whether you call family members or neighbors or whatever, so the key here, the main teaching here is that one should seek solitude. Mm. So solitude is very important. So one might also say that all these instructions are for, let's say, beginners or first level people like us. When we have too much distraction, when we have the um, neighbors, it's good thing to have friendly. It's very important to have friendly relation with neighbors, of course. But at the same time, if you So the idea here is that if you become too friendly with or too intimate with your neighbors, then you are embroiled in the complex situation of your neighbors as well. You have your own family, which has you have your own family, which has its own problems. And when you get too intimate with your neighbor's problem also becomes your problem, and it becomes more and more complicated. Of course, as a Dharma practitioner, we have to look after all the sentient beings, right? So why not our neighbors? Why not our family members? It's a uh, very justified question. But at the same time, are we capable of taking care of all the sentient beings right now? Are we capable of taking care of our family members even right now? So we have to do what we can at that moment. And also, while doing what we can at that very moment, strive for more strength to do more. For that, and in this regard, in this regard, the uh, seeking solitude to develop your inner strength to become enlightened becomes a much more important thing than to become too intimate with your neighborhood. Meaning, become intimate with your family member or with your neighborhood. It's a term used for um, don't get yourself embroiled in other people's problem. Um, that is what the instruction actually is saying. Um, yeah. Now, next is having control over the sensual objects and to remain independent without attachment is a great deed to oneself, or it's a great deed of kindness to oneself. Being helpful, being kind to yourself, right? Okay. So here, sensual objects, what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we taste, what we smell, these kind of things. These are the sensorial level of joy or happiness. So most of the time, when we say we are happy because we had a good time, good food, had some good time, laughter with our friends, and so it's usually most of the time it's either physical or verbal, right? When somebody says good things to you, you are happy. When someone gives you good food or good physical comfort, then you are happy. And so our most of the time we are distracted by sensorial level of happiness. And to be honest, the sensorial happiness is temporary. It's like the restroom stops. Yeah. Um, that is not the main journey or the main destination. It is the restroom stop. So most of the time we have been stopping at all the restroom on our way to the uh, ultimate destination. So instead of doing some restroom stops, which is necessary to fill in gas, to fill in petrol, and then to have some refreshment, which is necessary. Instead of doing that, we always stop wherever there is a rest stop. We stop there. We stop there. Then we spend so much time and effort and money and whatever our energy into the restrooms. And when we finally reach supposedly reach near the destination, the gate of our ultimate destination, we no longer have any energy left. So therefore, the control over sensorial object is key. Uh, and once you are free from being controlled by the sensorial objects, you know, when you can control the sensorial objects, you are no longer controlled by the sensorial objects, then you are independent. Yeah. Now the next, that is number 6. The next one is actually similar to the number 5. You can say it's part of number 5. So sensorial, once you control your sensorial desires, then of course you will no longer have to, you will no longer have the wish or the uh, craving for luxurious and precious and price expensive things. Um, so the number 6 says to be content with ordinary things and to have no desire for luxuries and precious things is a great deeds to oneself. So yeah, it's the same. So this one follows the previous instruction. Uh, um, of course, whether it's food or whether it's clothes, it's important to have good things that does not harm your body. Um, if you have a food that is if you have a stale food and if you buy very cheap clothing, then it will be harmful to your body. And if you keep wearing something some harmful material fabric for a long time, then it will have an adverse effect on your overall health. And then you will have to go to the hospital and spend a lot of money for that. So these things should be avoided. Of course, you buy good material, you buy good material, good fabrics to cover yourself, and good food to feed yourself. That is important. But more than that, to overspend, to spend more than what is necessary for your overall well-being. Now that comes to vanity, and that is not necessary, and that will not bring you. If you think that brings you happiness, then you are being very shallow. Mm. That is the number 6. Then number 7 is that one should not give the control of one's life to others. One should. So we talk about in the especially in the internet age, in today's time, we are influenced so much by other people's lifestyle. We see people driving fancy cars, having new phones, and so many other things on going to fancy restaurants and things like that. And then we want to go there as well. Then we spend our hard-earned money on these things that we can do without. We may not need it. Of course, once in a while we treat ourselves. That is very good. As I said before, we need it. But being influenced by people like the internet influencers, in today's time, we are always influenced. We think we are inspired, but actually we are influenced, or in other words, we are controlled by the influencers who are actually paid by the those companies or the restaurants, the cloth maker, and so on and so forth. Nowadays, it's time of internet. People don't watch television that much. People watch internet all the time. Everyone has a mobile phone, and so the ad companies, advertisement companies, don't do much ad on the television. They pay the influencers, internet influencers. They pay them money, and then they drive beautiful cars, go to beautiful destination, and so on and so forth. And then we think we are inspired by them, but actually we are controlled by the aid companies through those internet influencers. And so they take control of our life, our money, and everything. So so this is just one example, and there are so many things like that. Even um, one might say, so there are many people who will try to control your life. So one must be sure of, you must be sure what you actually need, what you really need. Do I really need it? You have to ask yourself 3 or 4 times, and you will also have to tell yourself, what will happen to me if I don't have this, right? If you want to buy something, eat something, or go somewhere, you have to ask yourself maybe 2 or 3 times. Honestly, if I really don't go to this restaurant today, will I die? Will I have so much pain in my heart, or am I gonna suffer terribly if I don't go to this restaurant? So after doing introspection, uh, after thinking thoroughly within yourself 2 or 3 times, then if you really need it, if you really need this break today, then of course go. Don't think over it again, right? Don't think over it. Don't overthink about this. If you don't need it, if you really don't need it, then just give it. Don't do it. So don't let yourself be controlled by other people's lifestyle. Mm, Many times those people struggle so much, right? What we see, where there is a You know, when we look at the movies, there's what they call behind the scenes. The movie, 1 hour or 2 hour, it's very beautiful. But when we look at the behind the scenes, it takes 3, 4 months to 1, 2 years to make a movie. And then there's so much difficulty, so much chaos. But in the movie, everything is organized. To make something organized, there's so much chaotic procedure that has to take place. And that is all hidden from us. And the same goes with everything that is beautiful on the internet. It takes so much chaotic preparation to make such an organized look. And are you ready to go for all of that? You have to ask yourself that. And only then one should, you know, indulge if you need. Yeah. Then the next one is not taking care of the pleasures of this life to cultivate bodhicitta mind. So this is as the example I always give, the restroom stop and the ultimate destination. So restroom stops are important, but the ultimate destination is more important. So this life is important. Of course, we have to survive, we have to eat, we have to drink, we have to sleep. This is very important to survive, to sustain this life, this precious human life. But at the same time, if we put all our energy into this life alone, then it's a waste. We have to think for some. We have to dedicate for something more meaningful, which is to gain enlightenment, to perfect our mind, to strengthen, to develop our inner strength through developing bodhicitta and understanding of emptiness or wisdom and so on and so forth. Yeah, to reach the land of enlightenment, there are to fly to the land of enlightenment, we needed 2 wings, and one wing is the wing of bodhicitta, and the other wing is the wing of wisdom, insight. Let's say the wing of insight gained from understanding emptiness. So bodhicitta and emptiness. So that is number 8 and number 9 both covered.
Và điều thứ 8 và điều thứ 9 ở đây nó có giống nhau, tức nghĩa là cái đôi cánh để chúng ta có thể đạt được giác ngộ ở đây thì nó phải bao gồm trọn vẹn cả hai. Thứ nhất đó chính là bồ đề tâm, và thứ hai đó là trí tuệ. Trí tuệ ở đây đó là một cái sự trực thấu, cái sự trực hiểu về tính không một cách rốt ráo, thì chúng ta cần phải có đầy đủ cả hai đôi cánh này.
Oh yeah. Then last one is not being distracted towards the mundane lifestyle. Of course, that's we repeated that. Not using in Tibetan we say 3 entrances or 3 doors, meaning mind, body, and speech. Mind is 1 door, 1 window, you might say in English. Mind, body, and speech. So we commit actions through our mind, through our body, and through our speech. So the mind, body, and speech are the entrances or the doors through which our positive or negative actions will come. So anyway, the 3 doors are our mind and body and speech should not engage in ordinary acts or should not be distracted by ordinary acts, but endeavor to the unification of the 2 accumulations. So the 2 accumulation is known as the accumulation of merit and accumulation of wisdom. And I think I'd said that several times before. To accumulate merit, to accumulate wisdom, one needs to accumulate merit first. So merit is like the start point, and with that point, you can go and purchase or acquire things. It's like a credit point, the merit. So the more merit you have, the more insight you will gain. So, when we learn difficult and complicated things as a child, it's very difficult. But as we grow older, when people explain things to us, we can easily understand that. So we mature with time, and with time we mature and we gain more and more merit. So something like that. So merit should be gained in order to the accumulation of merit is important, very important, in order to gain accumulation of insight or wisdom. In the monastery, we do long prayers, and as a child, as a kid, we don't like long prayers. It's very boring. It's very then sometimes we fall asleep, and it's very boring to sit like for 2-3 hours straight. Very boring. And then our teachers always tell us that we like to do debate. We want to learn. We want to go to the class. We want to ask questions like that. But we don't like the prayer as a kid. And then our teachers always tells us that the prayer is what helps us to accumulate the merit. And without the merit, we will not be able to understand. Even though we will listen, we will hear the teaching from our teacher, uh, and we might even understand what the teacher is saying. But what the teacher taught us will not be beneficial for our life, and if it is not, it will not be helpful to us. And in the monastery, we have a saying that in order to get one bag full, one small bag, in order to gain a small packet of wisdom, one needs to first gather a big sack of merit. Okay, so the teaching concludes here, and if you have any questions or something to say, yeah.
Phần giảng đã kết thúc rồi, bây giờ sang đến phần hỏi đáp.
Do we have any questions, Ms. Yen?
Yes, Rinpoche, we have one question from the last lesson.
Please go on.
Prostrate to Rinpoche, we have one question from last lesson regarding daily practice. Rinpoche, you said that we just need to practice Dharma 1% correctly every day, then we should be okay. So how do we know that the 1% we practice daily is correct? Thank you, Rinpoche.
So in Tibetan, we have something called, I don't know how, we just say that the first name of the three things in Tibetan. Jor Ngu Jesum, right? There is the Jorwa, there is the Nushi, and there's the Juk. Jor Ngu Jesum. Jor Ngu Juksum or Jor Ngu Jesum. So Jor, the first one is preparation, Jorwa, preparation. And Ngu is the actual. So I'm just going to say it literally. Preparation, actual, and conclusion. So these three these three factors, the preparatory factor, the actual factor, and the concluding factor. So these three things are very important. When you have these three things all together, when you properly when you conduct these three factors properly, then your Dharma practice, any Dharma practice you do, whether big, small, long, short, grand, whatever it is, it will be 100%. So the first preliminary section is the motivation or intention, why you are doing it. You are doing it for to gain fame, wealth, or something for this life only, for your own sake. Yeah. Or are you doing it for other people? Other people meaning not someone who you are doing it selflessly. If you normally we do it for our family members, our kids. We lie for our kids, we lie for our parents, we cheat others for our family members, and we cannot say, oh, I'm doing for others because my family is other than me, so I'm doing it for someone else. So I'm doing it for the sake of other sentient beings. You cannot say that because your family is your own, so you are doing it for your own sake because your family's welfare is well-being and welfare is your welfare. You gain something from it. So you are doing it with selfish motivation. So the first thing is selfless motivation. You are doing something, you must, whatever Dharma practice or whatever action that you are going to engage with, I'm not going to say Dharma practice. I'm going to say any action that you are going to engage with, okay? Because when we say Dharma practice, normally people think about meditation or reciting something. Actually, not necessary. Uh, if somebody, okay, so selfless motivation, that is the first thing. Preparation wise, selfless motivation. One should, whatever action one is going to engage with, one should do it with selfless motivation. Uh, that is the first one. Then during the actual um, the actual practice, whatever instruction there is, if you are doing a recitation of a Dharma book or if you're doing meditation, you should follow the instruction properly. Um, if it says recite 3 times, recite 3 times. If you say visualize the deity, visualize the deity. Or if you are doing a bodhicitta meditation, focus on bodhicitta. If you're doing a meditation on emptiness, focus on that. Whatever is the practice of the day, or meaning whatever is the practice on the plate, on the menu, you must follow it correctly. That is the second one. That is the actual factor, right? The preparatory factor, the actual factor. And the third one is dedication. Conclusion. At the conclusion, you must dedicate it. Again, you start it with selfless intention, and you conclude it also with selfless intention. So when you finish the practice, when you finish, let's say, giving alms, right? Generous practice of generosity, helping someone, or doing your Dharma practice, reciting your mantra or whatever. At the end of the practice, oh, I've done so much good practice today. Now I should be very happy, right? Now I will become very rich, or may I become so rich, or may I become so happy. Do not dedicate it for your own sake. Dedicate it for the sake of all the sentient beings. And you are one of the all sentient beings. So when you pray for all the sentient beings, you are covering yourself. So there is no need to worry about that. Our teachers sometimes jokingly say that it is not good, Buddhist teacher, it is not part of the Buddhist practice to be greedy, right? One should never be greedy. But when we pray, we must be greedy, meaning we should not pray only for oneself or one's family member. Me, I'm just one. My family member, maybe 10, 20, right? My neighbors, maybe 100, right? So we should be very greedy when we are praying. We should be praying for all the sentient beings, not just human beings, which is only 7 billion. So we should pray for the insects, for the animals, and everyone. One should not be greedy. Generally, as a Buddhist, we should not be greedy. But when you are praying, you must be greedy as you can. So it's our teachers sometimes jokingly say this. So we get this, right? Preparatory factor, pure motivation, selfless motivation. Actual practice, actual factor, whatever the instruction is of the day, right? If you are going to practice some generosity, do it properly. And then third, do the proper dedication. So if you have these three together, the preparation, selfless motivation, actual engaging in the actual practice, and then the proper dedication. When you do these three things, when you follow these three things properly, then your Dharma practice will be 100% Dharma practice. And then if you build this up every day, then you will always be putting 100% in the Dharma. So most of the time we will not be able to do that. When we are doing a practice, there will be slight bit of a selfish intention there. So we try to do, even though we cannot dedicate 100%, we try to dedicate 30%, 40%, 80%, as much as we can. That is, and then we add it up. Then we add it up and deposit it into our merit bank. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anything else, Sian?
We have 2 more questions from Butela. Do you have a time
Please,
for today?
please
So
go on.
the follow-up question for the previous question is that so if we don't have time or too tired to recite the number of repetitions as instructed or complete the entire sadhana, what should we do, Rinpoche? Thank you.
Oh yeah, sure. That's a very good question. Certainly, we have these kind of cases, we have these kind of scenarios. Okay, I will tell you two things. One thing is, if you do not have the time to read the sadhana whole, maybe you can slowly or maybe in a moderate pace, you can record the whole sadhana, your own recording, or maybe you can ask someone to some lamas to record for you. And then when you are walking, or maybe you are just walking towards commuting towards your work, you can listen to the recitation, and then while the recitation is going on, you can contemplate on that. That is very helpful. Another thing, of course, is to memorize the whole thing, and then you can just do it all silently through your head. You do not have to read it aloud, and then it takes, depending on your familiarity with the practice, it may take more or less time. Sometimes it takes more time because when you're reciting, it just goes like that. But when you're actually thinking about it, it is more difficult, but it's more effective as well. And that is actually the goal of the sadhana. The goal of the sadhana is not just to get it, read it from A to Z, but to think it from A to Z. So that is the goal. That is one thing. And now, if all these methods are not working for you, then what you can do, of course, is that if you have, made a commitment to do the sadhana and all that, then you can usually once in a week or at least once in a month, make sure that you do the sadhana whole. But then most of the time you can just what we call the instantaneous generation. So you can generate the deity instantaneously. I advise you to do it like at least once a week. But if you cannot, you can do it once a year, once a month, and then do the long one, or the actual sadhana. And then while you do do not miss it out, at least once a month or once a week. And then on daily basis, you can do the instantaneous generation. So instantaneous generation, usually what happens is during all the sadhanas are quite similar. The structure is quite similar. There is the refuge to the Buddha Dharma Sangha, to the Triple Gem, and then you welcome or you invite, you invoke the deity, and then you visualize the deity as the guru, or the guru and the deity as indivisible one, indivisible, indestructible. And then, of course, if you had received the commitment and if you have received empowerment, then you transform yourself into the deity, which is none other than the guru, which is none other than the deity, which is none other than yourself. So your own impure, let's say, an unenlightened, non-enlightened mind, body, and speech are being transformed into the enlightened and perfected state of Buddhahood that is obtained by your guru, which is none other than the Buddha in a human form. So once you reach that state or stage, then from the state of a Buddhahood which you have reached through your visualizations, you So what is the work of a Buddha? What are the activities of the Buddha? Of course, the activities of the Buddha is to help sentient beings. So now in your state of being a Buddha, even in this form of visualization, you help sentient beings. You visualize that you become a Buddha, you become the deity, which is an enlightened being. And as an enlightened being, you help all the sentient beings. And as you help sentient beings, after you become the Buddha, then you start doing the recitation. So 1 mantra, 2 mantra, 3 mantra, whatever you do. And after the recitation is done, while the recitation is being done, you visualize a lot of powerful light coming, and then that is actually bringing bliss to the sentient beings who are suffering, to drinks for those who are thirsty, food for those hungry, and so on and so forth, and comfort for those who are lonely, and so on and so forth. And then once the activities of the Buddhas are done, then you check that all back. Then you dissolve into the Guru, which is the deity, and then the deity and the Guru also dissolves into emptiness, and then everything is empty. It's like after finishing your meal, you clean everything and put everything back. The table is empty. So similarly, once this activity is done, you just put everything back. So very simple step. Refuge. Okay, I just repeat. Okay, first do the refuge, then invite the deities, make offerings to them, to the deities, and then visualize yourself transforming into the deity if you have received the empowerment. And then once you have transformed into the deity, which is an enlightened Buddha, then you engage in the activities of the Buddha, which is to help sentient beings. And once that is, and at the same time, do your recitations silently, or maybe a little bit of like murmur, whisper, like that is also fine. Or you can just do it completely silently, right? And then you dissolve everything, okay? Refuge, invoke, and then make the offerings, then do the transformation, then engage in the activities of the Buddha, then dissolve. 5 things. Very simple. It doesn't even take 1 minute. Oh yeah. Next question, please.
We have one more question.
Please go
on. Dear Rinpoche, it is easy to say about letting go, but it's hard to do. How to achieve it in a right sequences?
Oh yeah. Again, a very, very practical question. It is certainly true. We all know that letting go is. Can you mute yourself? Thank you. So we all know that letting go is important, but at the same time it's difficult. So what we do is we start with letting go of things that we can, or the things that is not utterly necessary for us. So by there's a trend nowadays called minimalism, right? I mean, maybe it started like 4 or 5 years ago. So there's people try to declutter their rooms and house, and it's usually not the important or necessary ones that is difficult to go, but it's usually the sentimental, like clothes and items that we have no use at all for like 4, 5, 7 years, but we still get stuck to that because it is somewhat sentimental to us. So, we attach our mind to that thing, even though we never use it for 5, 7 years, we still somewhat think that we may need it, and then we just keep on to it. So there's a whole bunch of documentaries on like minimalism and things like that. And anyway, so decluttering your house and decluttering your mind, it's the same process. And so during the decluttering process, what they do is, if there are some things that you are attached with, especially sentimentally, then instead of throwing it away altogether, So what they do is they put two boxes of things that you may not need and you may be able to give up. So you don't throw the things right away from your house, but you designate a place for those things to be thrown away. Let's say this cup, right? I have no use for this cup, but I'm sentimentally attached to this cup. So what I do is I put this cup is just an example. So I put this in the um, sort of the box, the sentimental box and I put it in that box and then to be thrown away. I didn't throw it away exactly, but I put it there. So every day when I come up and down, go here and there, I always see the object. I always see the uselessness of that object, the uselessness, right? The the unnecessity, the unnecessityness, let's say, of me being attached to that. So the necessity of me having let go of this object. So I always see this here whenever I go. Normally, there are so many things that we are attached to, and then we leave it in one room and we never see it. So if somebody tells us to get rid of that object, we cannot because we are sentimentally attached to it. Um, and then we forget about it, and then it piles up tens, hundreds and hundreds of files and small items, and what we call that um say, what is the word for it? I forgot the word. um anyway, things like that. So they put it in the one box, and then we see it every day as you go up and down, and you see the uselessness of that object. So, and then they throw it out. And then eventually, after 4 or 5 months, they are able to throw it out, and then they're able to clean their room, declutter their room. Um, uh, so maybe many of you know this. There's a show called Marie Kondo, quite famous. So anyway, so this is maybe it's just I'm digressing from the topic. So what we do here is to let go of things. You should try to let go of things that is not necessary for you, that you do not really need. And if you cannot do it, you just like the example here, uh, by putting it in a box, don't throw it away, right? Don't throw it all away, but put it in a space that you designate as unnecessary. So if you really need it, you can always get it back, and if you don't need it, you can throw it. And the same thing was actually done. I think I shared this story a long time back. There was a very stingy, uh, a wealthy lady in Tibet. Wealthy lady. She is an aristocrat. She's very wealthy, but at the same time, she's very stingy, miser. And so for her, everything else is okay, but to practice generosity is very difficult. So her teacher actually devised a plan. So the teacher said, okay, you do not have to give anything to anyone. Just give this object from your right hand to your left hand, and then left hand to your right hand. And she practiced that. She practiced that for a long time. And finally, she could give this to her, her close people who were close to her. And then later, she became very light-handed. She gave to so many. She practiced in generosity so well. So the first thing, we start with something that we could do. So we talk about practicing letting go. So don't go for the most difficult part because it's very difficult. Start with something small. Like when we eat food, we take bites, right? Small bites, then we eat actually one whole plate. So similarly, uh, one should think of doing the things little by little, and then give up things little by little, and then it will pile up. You are able to give up or let go of so many things, and then it actually encourages you to let go of more things and more things and more things, and then you will nothing is more inspiring than seeing your own successes, whether it's spiritual, financial, whatever. So the more success you see, if you go for the highest, the most difficult thing, then you fail, and it actually makes you lose confidence in everything. If you do the small things first, when you achieve something, that success makes you want to achieve more. it drives you. It will drive you. So that's one way to go, I guess.
Oh yeah, Tujiche, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Hong. Thank you, Yen.
We have one more question. Would you like to take it today, or we can wait until the next week?
Okay, just shoot it. Yeah, just shoot it through.
Okay, so one more last time. Thank you, Rinpoche. That was, what about the hurtful feelings that happened, which is not material related, especially when we need to help the young people to move on? Thank you, Rinpoche.
Can you repeat the question, Miss Yen? I didn't get it the whole. Yeah.
Okay, so
Just repeat, please.
The question is, what about the hurtful feelings that happened, which is not related to material, especially
Okay.
when we need to help young people to move on?
Right. Okay. Right. So it's more sentimental kind of thing. Absolutely. So I think this has been, it's a recent, so the events that happen in one's life, the hurtful feelings, the pain, the suffering that the pain that one is inflicted, that has been inflicted upon oneself by someone, that is as bad as it may sound, from the Dharma point of view, from a spiritual point of view, the best way is to look forward, to go forward, the thing is, letting go of whatever traumatic experiences that you have is very important. People, that's just the strange thing is, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but from my very simple point of view, I think people do find comfort in going back to that traumatic experiences over and over again. Comfort, when I say comfort, what I mean is to get out of that traumatic experience. In today's age, in today's time, especially in the last 1 decade or so, people are so eager to victimize oneself. Self-victimization is a big issue. So I'm not talking about this or that particular thing, but people like to self-victimize themselves. And when they shed light on themselves as victims, then people, today's time is it's very strange time, and people are very scared of speaking the truth, and then they try to be politically correct as much as they can. I'm talking about on the internet, and also in the family or in wherever, they try to just please everyone. Of course, to be good to people is very important, but if you keep pleasing everyone without going to the root of the problem, then you are just putting the treatment becomes superficial. Whatever problem there may be, you have to go to the root of it. If you do not do it, the problem will remain, no matter how much ointments or how much medicine you apply on it. If you do not go to the root of the problem, it will not help. So whether it's parents or whether it's people try to be nice to each other, to their face, what I'm trying to say, to be pleasing, to say nice words, and then not to go to the direct. Of course, we have to be kind. One should not be, ill intention. There should not be ill intention. But when there is a problem, we should be very honest about it and tell them in the most honest way. And that way, people may like it, people may not like it. But those who like it, the people who accept you, the people who accept you, people who take you, people who welcome you, are the one who will be welcoming the real you, not the fake you. The face and the mannerism that you have created in order to please other, that is not you. You just did it to please. it's a mask that you put on yourself. And then since you put that mask on and everybody recognizes you as the mask and not as yourself, so now you have to put on that mask, just like the coronavirus time. We have to put on this mask every day. So we have to put that superficial mask, face mask. Every day we go, we meet people. We have to say nice things and do. Um, I'm not saying you have to get rid of pleasantries, but the things one should always think about going to the root of the cause. That is very important. So coming back to the giving up, letting go, traumatic experiences, all that. What is the use of going back to the traumatic experience over and over and over and over and over again? One thing, when you have experienced it for so long, it becomes a comforting sort of space for you. It is like an itch. So the more you itch, you know that scratching your itchy part is not good because it will turn into rash. But as long as there is an itch, you keep it's more comforting to scratch the itchy part than not to do that. So similarly, people with traumatic experience would like to visit these things, and I can say I'm speaking from experiences. So I'm not just saying something theoretical here. When we have some issues at childhood, when we have some issues as a teenager, and it feels good when we narrate the story and people try to comfort us. But the thing is, you are not moving forward, and it is not doing you any good. And there's a word for that, emotional blackmail. So by going back to that traumatic experiences and narrating that to other people, or by, even though you may not be expressing it openly, sometimes by not expressing it, you are expressing it, the traumatic experience that you're going through. And then you want people to comfort you. You want people to, what is the word for that? You want people to see things from your side, even though the traumatic in the past. So you live always living in the past. You're not living in the present, and you are not living. And so my point is, there is no point in going back to the traumatic experiences. It is really bad. It's such a terrible thing that happened. But then, as fast as we can, must try to get up and move forward. It's like, when you have a car accident. Of course, if you are totally unconscious, you cannot wake up by yourself. But if you can, you should, you should try to get up and then get to a safer side. You should not sit there and let others to seek comfort from others. That is, it is very. I think that is a sign of laziness, if I can put it, sign of sloth, because we are all seeking happiness, right? And we all feel good when people comfort us. So we play the victim card all the time, especially in the West. People play victim card for no reason. The materialistically, in the West, they have everything much better, well off than in the poor countries like Africa or India, like that. And so they play the emotional card. They play the, my father is missing when I was this and that. This is happening all over. But in the poor countries, they don't play that card. They they get on their own feet and they work hard. Even the father or mother is missing in their life. But in the West, when the parental figure is missing in their life, they play that card and they play a victim, and then they complain about that, and then they do drugs and all stuff, crazy things for these. So it's so anyway, I'm digressing here. My point is, one should as I said in the very beginning, I'm not a psychiatrist, so maybe I'm just saying things that I shouldn't be saying, but I'm just, I just want to, give my thoughts here. That is, one should let go of traumatic experiences as fast as one can, and that is the best thing one can do for oneself and the people that love and care for you.
Just yeah, if you have when you have a very painful experience, it's very important to let it out, express it, not to hold it back. But at the same time, do not revisit it. Express it, tell it to people who will care, who will really listen to you. Express it. Maybe just if you have no one, then just write it on a book, in your diary or whatever. It's important to let it out, but at the same time, revisiting it over and over again is not helpful. Oh yeah, come on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rinpoche. No more questions for today.
Thank you, Miss Yan. Thank you, Huang.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you know, the Dharma, thank you.
Tính kiết cường chỉ giữ pháp chân thực, ngài tinh thông toàn bộ kinh và mật, dùng thánh tâm để truyền bá đại dương phát đạt khắp muôn phương. Nguyện cầu ngài trường thọ để dẫn dắt chúng sinh.